Hi, welcome to the F1 Time Portal, a Formula One history podcast started by two compelling Formula One fans. I'm your host, Rosa.
And I'm your Bohemian Rhapsody host, Luigi. And today we're taking you back to the 1976 season, part 1. So let's go.
I thought I'd use the word compelling for this one, Louis.
I thought you were going to pop culture. And I was staying with the music.
No, I'm not going to pop culture. I'm trying to use words that describe us or the episode. So I thought compelling was a good word for this year.
Yeah, I think this season, it's a good word for this season. And a lot of people onto this season, they're waiting for this one, I think.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you don't often get a season where a movie is made about it.
No, that's right. Well, before we get into that, Bo Rap. We're into Bo Rap.
Well, this is a
song.
classic F1 season, and that's a classic rock song that people have done PhDs studying that song.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So,
I feel like we've had this conversation before, Louis. Are you sure you haven't used Bo Rap before?
I hope Bohemian Rhapsody was released in 76. Shall I check?
Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm just having like a very strong deja vu moment. But I remember
maybe.
We've had this conversation.
I think you're right, because Bohemian Rhapsody was released in 75. But it was late 75.
Okay. We've kind of,
we've slipped up. We're just going to let that ride. Bohemian Rhapsody is such a great song. It gets double mention. It probably was, I bet it was number 1 in 75 and 76.
And 76. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So we'll use that, right?
Yeah. So back to this season, we've actually renamed this episode because the way that our reference book, Mike Lang, referred to it was a total spoiler. Although I think you're right. I think most people know about this season and what happens. But for those of us that like to have a little bit of intrigue and work up to a bit of a surprise, we've decided to change the title so that you don't get spoiled right up front.
Yeah. Because remember in the 74 season, Mike Lang in his Grand Prix book called it All the Way to Watkins Glen. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
but in this one, he called it something else.
Yeah.
So he gave it away, and we don't want to give it away. So for those that don't know, which I would call is about 1% of the listeners, then let's let them have the joy.
That's right. And look, they might know part of this season. Some of it is very well known and a lot reported on it, but they might not know other parts of it. So yeah, let's just keep it as a surprise. And yeah, as you said, Louis, there's a movie made about it called Rush. I haven't watched it. I was really disappointed with myself. I've had a very busy couple of weeks and I haven't watched it. And I didn't watch it when it came out at the time. So yeah, that's something for me to look forward to. But you've seen it a couple of times.
Yeah, and in fact, it was released in 2013 and it was a big high profile movie. I mean, it had Ron Howard as one of the directors, who's the guy from Happy Days, and Chris Hemsworth as the main actor, which I think lots of girls like him, or guys, whatever, or whatever gender or allegiance you have in all things. Yeah, he's pretty good looking.
He's pretty good looking. He's Thor. Yeah. He's the guy that's Thor in the Marvel universe. Yes. Yeah.
It was a fantastic movie and it really did capture things. And we're recording this episode in late 2025. And obviously we've had the Formula One movie be released within last month or two. And Rush is a much better movie. At least it's real and the drama is even better and bigger.
Yeah. It's interesting because you've seen Rush a few times. I went to see the F1 movie. I don't think I'd see it again. Like, it's not a movie I'd rush out, excuse the pun, to watch again. But I think you have seen Rush a few times. And I think other friends have also said that, like, Rush is really, really good. So
definitely got to watch it. Okay, all right. So maybe watch it after you've listened to these episodes.
Yeah, we don't use the works of the Rush movie as a basis for this podcast. We do use the Mike Lang book. He does have a little bit of British bias in his reporting, we've noticed.
Yeah, he loves Hunt. I remember that.
Yeah, he loves Hunt. he kinda likes Lauda, but I think that those 2 things separate a little bit this year. So we'll see what happens with the Mike Lang things. Yeah, so
Okay.
if we get onto the season, we had a very dominant Lauda and Ferrari season in 1975. So what's happening in 1976, Louis?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we do start with a little bit of bad news. Well, it's not a little bit, it's a big bad news. On the 29th of November in 75, so this was, I think, after the end of the 75 season, Graham Hill's private plane crashed in thick fog, which unfortunately not only killed Graham Hill, but his young, promising driver, Tony Bryce, who was starting to show some potential last year. It also it killed Ray Brimble, the team manager, head designer, team mechanics. It was pretty major impact on the team.
Yeah, I've read accounts of this that called Tony Bryce like his protege, Graham Hill's protege. I think they saw a lot of potential in him, in making him, a really top grade Formula One driver. So it's pretty sad. I know we sort of summed up Graham Hill's Formula One career when he kind of announced his retirement, but yeah, this is really tragic. I mean, he survived 18 seasons in probably the most dangerous era of the sport, where safety wasn't really a big uh, priority, and then he passes away 4 months after he's retired from the sport in an incident that arguably could have been avoided.
Yeah, it's a bit like Mike Hawthorne when he passed away.
Yes,
He retired
yes.
from Formula One after winning the 58 championship and because it was too dangerous. And he died in a truck accident like
Yeah,
months
not very
later.
long after.
Yeah,
Yes,
so they survived the
exactly.
most dangerous era.
I
And then
know.
this, and Graham Hill even more exaggerated because,
Yes.
he went for 18 years.
18 years, I know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
also because of the magnitude of the accident, the whole embassy team had to withdraw from the sport because all of the key players were all involved in that accident. So, yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
yeah. And Bryce was only 23, did 10 races, got 1 point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Like I
yeah,
said, he was showing a lot of promise. He was recording some very fast qualifying times, and he was actually outperforming his teammate, which was Alan Jones, and we know where Alan Jones ends up in the
yeah,
history
he had
of
talent.
Formula One.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did have, like, Brees, the team had a lot of issues, so he didn't ever really finish in the leaderboard positions, but he was showing some really good talent on the track.
For 10 races. Yeah. Yeah. So, what else was going on, Rosa?
Well, other major team news to open up is that the Hesketh team withdrew from Formula One.
Yeah, that's sad because the Hesketh team could no longer fund the cost of running the team from his own pocket. And
Yeah, Lord Hesketh. It was Lord
Lord
Hesketh,
Hesketh, so he
wasn't it?
desperately tried to find a sponsor, failed, and he had to withdraw.
I can't
So,
believe, Luigi, that they didn't have a sponsor. Like,
yeah, they were white. They were plain white.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think that someone would have sponsored them. I mean, James Hunt was a big personality in the sport. A lot of people came to see him, like his antics, and they were actually doing quite well. They'd won a few races. They were like, qualifying really well. But yeah, I find that so hard to believe.
Well, they won one race, but yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
yeah, and
that,
like you said, I mean, Hunt was like, he was a playboy, so he got a lot more attention than, say, the other British
yeah,
drivers. But I mean, there were other British teams that probably got the lion's share of the attention,
yeah.
like even though
Maybe
McLaren
they
was a New Zealand based team, a New Zealand founded team, it was based in the UK. But
maybe they weren't seen as a serious team.
yeah, and therefore sponsors didn't want to be associated with them.
That's
Who
right.
knows?
Yeah,
But
who
I also
knows?
feel like they had a bit of a, you know, not they didn't want to compromise what they wanted to be. So
Yeah, that's
therefore
true.
they could do it their way all the way. And hence, I think Rosie, you wrote down that on the
Yes.
driving suit in F3, he had the slogan "Sex, the breakfast of champions." That I don't know how many sponsors would be into that.
Yes, they had a very unique blend of, like, aristocratic funding, lavish kind of hospitality. They stayed in all the best hotels. They were very carefree and fun-loving in the paddock, and they had a growing reputation for their playboy style. Like, they'd come in Rolls Royces, drink champagne, go out the night before. Yeah, so maybe that wasn't, like, the vibe of what sponsors wanted to, attach to their brand. But anyway, so, yeah, it was a shame. They only survived 3 years. That's a bit of a
Yeah,
shame.
but 3 years where they got a win and they gave us James Hunt, who,
Yes.
goes on to achieve and become a bigger name in his own right, and their chassis would live on. So I think the remnants of the Hesketh team were absorbed by other teams. Like, they bought this chassis, bought those parts.
Okay,
But so a lot
right.
of cars have a Hesketh chassis, I think, for more than a couple of years still to come.
Okay,
So
alright.
you
Well,
might
that's
hear
good.
us mention Hesketh, but we're
Yes,
talking
yes,
about not the team, the car.
not the team. Goodbye,
Yeah.
Lord Hesketh, we'll miss you.
Yeah, we thank you for giving us the memories. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, sex, the breakfast of champions. That just killed me. That alright. So another major change on the driver front was the sudden departure of Emerson Fittipaldi, Luigi, from the McLaren team, and he joined his older brother's team, the Suzuka Fittipaldi team. That's a big fork in the road, isn't it?
It's a massive fork in the road because at that time, or he won the second championship in 74. He didn't win it in 75, of course, but
No.
he was the youngest ever double world champion,
Yes.
and he had the world at his feet.
Yes. Yep. I know, and he left McLaren. I mean, arguably McLaren at this point in the history of that team was big. They were serious, they were big, they had good sponsors, they were massive into their chassis and development. They had this whole thing, and he left them for his brother's team. I don't know. Is it ever good to mix family and business, Louis?
Depends. Depends if it involves Formula One. I'd
It
say
depends if you're
no.
successful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to, yeah, that's right. I'm not going to give too much away other than I'm maybe giving something away, but we're not going to be talking about
No.
Fittipaldi much more.
No.
And that's
It's a
sad
shame.
because he was so
Yes.
young and at his peak of his powers. And
Yes.
one thing I noticed, because Emerson Fittipaldi in August 2025, he's still around. He's an old fellow, but he makes good comments and he gives stories about Senna because he was very close to Senna and things like that. But one thing I notice every time he's interviewed, and he says it a lot, and I'm going to say I question it, he always says, I have no regrets. I have no regrets. Come on,
You've gotta
Emerson.
say that all
Just
the
admit,
time, I reckon.
just admit
Yeah.
you regret the move of
Yeah.
going to Suzuka. Just admit it, because I think he left one or two championships on the table that he could have
Yeah.
had. He was that
Well,
good.
I always think if you gotta say that out loud to people all the time, it actually means you do have regrets. I think you're just trying to convince yourself.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, we'll mention him if we can, but you're right, Louis, we probably won't mention him a lot. And then politically, there was a massive struggle between the CSI, which was the governing body, or what we know now as the FIA, and the Formula One Association. So they were battling it out politically over safety measures, but it was clear that the FIA was starting to take control of F1. They were overwriting a number of CSI safety rules, but that's good, I think. I think safety was being improved, all the time. So I think it's a good thing, but I was actually gonna look up who was behind the association. Is that Bernie at this point in time?
No,
So
no, he's
Bernie
still
Ecclestone?
his
He's
era
still just
comes
a
in the
team.
80s, late 70s, early
Yeah.
80s, when he starts to play those games and
Is it Max
take F1 up.
Mosley, or was he also in the
He's also
80s?
he's even later.
And
He's like,
later. Yeah.
yeah, I
I
think
didn't
he's
look
in the
up who was
90s.
behind these struggles, but
Yeah.
anyway.
But Mosley is involved in F1, but I think at this
Yes.
stage, he's in the March team. Remember, he's one
He's
of the
in a
founding
team.
members,
Yes,
I think.
yes.
Yeah. But
Yep.
these people will come into their own, I guess.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, to some team info. So, the politics is done. The Ferrari team set up their car to trial a new De Dion suspension system, which was something that's not been seen since the 1950s. So, this is impressive for Ferrari to do this because they just had a dominant 75 with a dominant car, and they were still pushing the boundaries and, funnily enough, going back in time to find performance. But they did enable the car to easily pivot back to the traditional suspension. It was rarely used, but it just shows how innovation doesn't always have to be dramatically
No.
new.
No. Well, there is that saying, "Everything old is new again," isn't there? There's that saying, like, really, all the inventions are just a recasting of something that's already been out there. But anyway, be interesting. It'd be interesting. Well, we know this is a close season, so they're doing something right, Ferrari. The new Brabham was designed by famous designer Gordon Murray. So he was. This is his early days famous. He was a big name even then. And it was to accommodate because Brabham signed a new deal with Alfa Romeo for their engine. So, this car is worth looking up. It has this double air intake in front of the 2 front tyres, a bit like the 75 cars, and we've got a picture of it here. It actually looks pretty cool. I like the look of this car.
Yeah, they've really stuck to that. It's like an evolution of the lobster claw.
Yes, the lobster claw, yeah. It looks much nicer, though. They flattened out those air intakes. It doesn't look so much like claws. But yeah, it's pretty cool, and they kept on their drivers, Carlos Reutemann and Carlos Pace, who Louis and I couldn't figure out who the number 1 driver was.
Yeah,
I think they're very
and they
closely they're very closely matched as drivers, so we'll keep an eye on them this year.
yeah, and a new team arrived in '76 called Ram. They last quite a few years, I think. They used the Brabham chassis, but instead put that with a Ford Cosworth engine. So I guess you could see comparing Ram to Brabham, what was the right engine to use, but then Ram probably had less budget than Brabham, I'm expecting. And we also see the introduction of an all-new Ligier team, and a team that to many of us has a lot of nostalgia value, especially for those that watched Formula One in the 80s and the 90s, especially the 80s. So Ligier comes on board in '76.
Yeah, so they were founded by Guy Ligier or Guy, I don't know how you say that. I think
I
he's
think it's
French,
Guy.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Guy. So he was a driver in '66 and '67, not a very competitive driver, I think, in that era, but yeah, he changed to being a constructor in '72 in various other racing categories until he moved up to F1 in this year, in '76.
Yeah. And so it was initially designated JS. So we mentioned Guy Ligier or Guy. I'll just say Guy because I think Guy sounds more
Guy,
natural.
yeah.
But we flagged him whenever we saw him driving in the '60s, saying
Yes.
there's more to come from this guy. Funnily enough, didn't mean the pun there. But the cars were designated as JS, as in JS5, and the JS actually stood for Joe Schlesser. And you may recall, those of you that listened back then, that he was killed in the '68 French Grand Prix. And you may remember that was unfortunately the titanium car that
Yeah,
Surtees
the
refused to
Honda.
drive.
Yeah, the Honda.
Yeah, so it's very sad. But Joe Schlesser is remembered by his friend Guy,
Yeah,
which is nice.
that is nice, yeah. Yeah, the car was powered by the Matra V12 engine and had the classic Gitons. Is it Gitons branding, Louis?
Yeah, I think so.
With the silhouette of a dancing gypsy girl, which is so cool. It's pretty cool. If you look up this car, it's got this massive air intake over the top of the driver with the lady on it. It's so funny.
Yeah, yeah.
They only had 1 driver though, and that was Jacques Lafitte, because, yeah, he was enticed away from Williams.
Yeah, and what a driver. They got a good driver.
They got a good
So,
driver, yeah, and that I remember the blue Ligier, like, that is something from the '80s as well.
yeah, they
It's like
really
that
retained
nice
that look.
blue. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And what else have we got? We got the
Your
Tyrrell
favourite
Project
topic.
P34.
Yeah, your
Yes.
favourite car, Luigi.
Yeah, I can't believe I was pausing there. So this was the unique Tyrrell P34 six-wheeler. It had 4 small wheels at the front. And yeah, what do you think,
Yeah.
Rosa?
Oh, definitely worth Googling this. It is a weird looking car, but it's pretty awesome. Like, I can't believe it's got 6 wheels. And it's got those
Yeah.
4 little wheels at the front. I don't know that I would have taken it seriously either. Like, a lot of people didn't take it very seriously at first. They go, What is that? What is going on here?"
Yeah. Well, if you can see how innovation is really being pushed, you know? And I mean,
Yes.
the aim was to reduce drag, to basically improve top speed. And by doing that, by having the smaller front wheels are below the nose cone. Whereas a normal wheels, the front wheel is a normal car. The front wheel is above the nose cone, so there's a bit of
Air
aerodynamic
drag.
impact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was a very dramatic and dynamic thing to experiment with.
I know, but to me, it just doesn't make sense because you've got more weight on the car because there's 2 extra wheels. Like I don't think the reduction in size makes up with the fact that there's more wheels. But
We'll see.
anyway,
We will
we'll
see, won't
see.
we?
We will
Yeah.
see. Well, what I do know, Louis, is that right now on the grid, there aren't any 6-wheelers. So
No.
I'm gonna suggest that it doesn't take off.
Okay, that's what you'd think on paper, which is fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And so interestingly, they had to actually install like a perspex window so that the driver could see their front wheels that were so small, because obviously they needed to use them as a point of reference on the track.
Yeah, they
So
couldn't see the wheels.
they
Yeah.
couldn't see the wheels.
So let's see if it's not. One thing that's interesting is by mid-season, because I don't think they start the season with the 6-wheeler. I think it comes
No,
after one or two races.
yeah,
But
yeah.
by mid-season, we won't even mention it much because it becomes considered normal. So even something as dramatic as that.
Wow, it's interesting what we all get used to, huh? Well, yeah, we'll see.
So we have also the new JPS 11. So there's Lotus.
Lotus, yeah.
They had a novel, as usual. Colin Chapman's always trying to find an
Yes.
angle. They had a novel built-in adjustable feature in the car, which allowed the car to be modified depending on the circuit. So,
Wow.
can you explain what would you call it?
Colin Chapman called it the fully adjustable car.
Yeah, I like how he keeps pushing it.
I know. Well, he hasn't pushed it for a while, has he? He's kind of depended on his old 72 for a while. So, yeah, it is interesting that he's called it a fully adjustable car, which is kind of what we have today in Formula One as well, don't we? Because they adjust the aero and they do these little tweaks based on. So, yeah, so Colin Chapman's at it again. But, yeah, I don't know. I didn't really go into all the actual technical features, Louis. We're not
that's okay.
technical. And we'd spend a lot of time trying to explain stuff that we don't fully understand.
And if Lotus aren't exactly the most featured team of the season, then we just sort of let it go a little bit. And I think we've talked about the Brabham Alfa Romeo, haven't we?
Yes, we did.
So we can sort of go through that.
Yep. So, yeah. So they were supplied for free, these engines, but they were now in the red Martini Racing livery. But it made the car unreliable and overweight, that engine. So it's going to be a tough year for Bernie, I think. But the car looked good. I've put a picture in our notes about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you say for free, it's like they were basically a works supported team. So works team means they get the engines for free. So while they may have not had the success because of the overweight engine, as you mentioned, Bernie probably made good money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just coming 5th or 6th was probably good money for him because you're not paying for the engine. This is awesome. And if he can just make the engine good, then you get the best of both worlds, right?
That's right. Yeah. But yeah, pretty cool looking car, I thought.
Yeah. Okay.
So, as we said, the Fittipaldi team now had secured the services of double world champion Emerson, and Wilson stepped away from driving. Yeah, they're not going to have a great season, but it will move on quickly.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So Williams entered the season essentially a Hesketh.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, they're using the chassis of the other team, and they decided to take over the Hesketh project, because of Dr. Harvey Postlethwaite, who joined the team from Hesketh. And Postlethwaite is a very well-known designer as well.
Yes.
And Mike Land sorry?
Can't forget that name, can you?
No,
Harvey Postlethwaite.
He goes right to the 80s as well, so he has a long career. Yeah.
Yep.
So Mike Lang even argued that the team raced the Hesketh and called it a Williams FW05, but he felt it should have been called a Hesketh Williams. Much like, remember the 50s when the Ferrari team used the Lancia D50s?
Yes.
But they were called Lancia Ferraris. So I think Mike Lang was trying to hold them to account like the old days.
Yeah. So Williams, having lost Lafitte, signed Ix and Renzo Zorzi. Now there's some good names, Louis. Renzo Zorzi and Ix. My gosh, we're at the end of the alphabet there. The real drama and the question I hear you all asking is what happened to James Hunt? Well, it turned out that he was offered the seat vacated by Fittipaldi at McLaren.
Well, we'll talk about this in a little bit of detail because there were a lot of reservations at McLaren about signing someone with the reputation of breaking the rules, being a bit of a hothead, playboy. And McLaren were a serious team. Like, they just won their first world championship with Fittipaldi in 74. And the team felt like they needed a driver that would sort of match them. And it seemed like a little bit of an odd match. And it was quite, and if when you see the movie Rush, you'll see that there was a lot of politics behind the scenes of that signing. It was nearly not done. Nearly James Hunt didn't have a drive, or he would have ended up in one of the back marker teams.
Yes, but you're right. Like, I think I read somewhere, I think it was in Mike Lang's book, there was never a moment more obvious in history where a team needed a driver and the driver needed a team. Like, they were just both kind of desperate to be matched. But yes, you're right. Hunt nearly blew it because he refused to sign the contract. He had a clause in it that said that any Marlboro-sponsored driver at any event that they attended needed to be wearing a blazer, a shirt, a tie, and tailored flannels at all functions.
Yeah. That
And he
doesn't sound like
refused.
James Hunt at all,
No.
does it?
No.
Yeah. So luckily, the contract negotiator at McLaren was a friend of Hunt's, and he persuaded Hunt to sign the contract before it was taken off the table, promising him that he would never make him dress like that. So it was like off contract discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. He did sign, but he proceeded to then charm all the bigwigs at McLaren with his T-shirt and jeans and thongs. But of course, he smoked copious amounts of their product. So I think they were happy with that. He's always
they
seen
would
with a
have loved it.
cigarette. They loved it.
That's what it's all about, right? And they also loved his speed. Like, let's not forget Hunt's early days reputation. I mean, we talked about this before, was Hunt the Shunt. So let's see if Hunt can settle down and become more than just the hothead that he was presenting at Hesketh.
Do we have time to actually do a race, Louis, or have we talked too much?
I reckon we'll leave it, and then we'll make next session the first race. This might be a bit of a longer series, everyone, because that was a very interesting opening. I mean, 76 deserves a longer opening, I think. So why not? Yeah.
All right. Okay. See you next time, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.